After the incident with Omamori, Ushio and Tora's adventures continue. The scene shows Mayuko's house where her father seems to be showing an antique mirror to Mayuko. Then Asako came to Mayuko's house to take her to school together. Mayuko's mother also asks Asako to accompany Mayuko at home during their vacation around Europe. Arriving at school, Asako always daydreams, thinking about Ushio, who disappeared somewhere. Seeing this, Mayuko invites Asako to visit Ushio's house after school. Arriving at Ushio's house, Shigure said that Ushio was away to help their family who was in trouble. After returning from there, Asako looks angry because Ushio didn't tell her when he would leave. On the other hand, Ushio is seen having dinner at the house of the two Kamatachi. Then he said that he would go to Hokkaido tomorrow. When Ushio was alone in a room, he suddenly saw Asako's reflection in the water, who seemed to be panicking while calling Mayuko's name. Ushio asked Kamatachi and Tora for help to explain what had just happened. Kamatachi said that it was called a water mirror. They took Ushio to a cave, where a mirror master named Ungaiku lived. Then the old mirror-shaped yokai came out of the cave to meet them. But when Ungaiku saw Ushio's holy spear, he was so scared that he ran away, but Tora managed to catch him. Ungaiku then explained the water mirror phenomenon that Ushio saw earlier. Ungaiku immediately showed a picture of what Asako and Mayuko were going through. At that time, the two of them were seen at Mayuko's house. Suddenly they were surprised by a sound from Mayuko's father's antique mirror. A yokai came out from the mirror and pulled the two of them into the mirror. Ungaiku said that the yokai was named Kyoma. Ungaiku was willing to help Ushio to get into his mirror so that he could arrive at Mayuko's house faster. But Ushio is only given a moment because he can be trapped forever in the world of mirrors. Finally, Ushio and Tora entered the mirror together and arrived at Mayuko's house. Because Ushio changed form, Asako didn't recognize him at all. When Ushio and Tora entered the mirror, Asako immediately grabbed Ushio's body to enter the mirror as well. Inside the mirror, they saw Kyoma, who was holding Mayuko's body. When Kyoma saw the presence of the three of them, he immediately changed his form and attacked them using many small yokai. Tora, who was eager to save Mayuko, was able to repel all the attacks until finally, Tora and Ushio defeated Kyoma with just one attack. Then Asako and Mayuko fainted. After they wake up, Asako thinks that last night's events were just a dream, but Mayuko finds out that last night's events are real, and they are helped by the shape-shifting Ushio and Tora. The scene shifts to a group of yokai monsters gathering and saying that the son of the woman has arrived in their territory. He came with a holy spear, so the yokai were eager to kill Ushio. On the other hand, Ushio was saying goodbye to the two Kamatachi to continue his journey. Kagari apologized to Tora after discovering that Tora was Nagato Bimaru, a yokai who had lived for 2,000 years. Besides that, Tora was also known to have great strength and many enemies he had conquered. Then Ushio and Tora left from there. They continued their journey by public bus. While on the bus, Ushio felt a yokai approach, coupled with his holy spear, which showed yokai's presence. Then there was yokai, who attacked the bus until it fell into a ravine. Fortunately, Tora and Ushio still managed to save themselves. When they were at the cliff's edge, many little yokai came. Ushio and Tora got tired of fighting those who always appeared again, until Ushio decided to retreat, and they both fled through the forest. While in the forest, Ushio's feet were grabbed by yokai who was hiding underground. Then another yokai came and surrounded the two of them. Ushio seems to be ganged up by many yokai. When Tora wants to help him, he is blocked by a giant yokai named Hitotsuki. They both seem to know each other. Even Hitotsuki knows Tora's other name besides Nagato Bimaru, namely Azafuse. Hitotsuki told Tora not to stop him from killing Ushio, but Tora replied that he helped Ushio because he was his prey. Meanwhile, Ushio, who was cornered, managed to escape because the holy spear moved by itself, bringing him away from the yokai until he fell into a lake. Then the holy spear made sounds as it detected a yokai in the lake. Ushio forced the yokai to appear immediately. Then yokai Kappa emerges from the water to treat Ushio's wound. Ushio then asked Kappa why so many yokai attacked him. Kappa replied that they attacked him not because of revenge but because of his mother. Kappa said that a beautiful girl came using a large ship from China thousands of years ago. It turns out that the girl is the incarnation of a very strong yokai. It is said that the yokai often slaughtered humans and other yokai in every country he visited because he thinks no yokai deserves to live except him. The yokai's name is Hakumen no Mono. One time Hakumen no Mono arrived in Japan. After his arrival, the yokai in Japan joined forces to destroy him. Even though they have united, the power of Hakumen no Mono still cannot be defeated. Until the humans helped them, the power of Hakumen no Mono was weakened. Then Hakumen no Mono ran away and threatened them all that one day he would come back with a bigger force and would kill them all. Hearing this, all yokai continued to chase him to destroy him while his strength weakened. But when Kappa wanted to tell the relationship between Ushio's mother and Hakumen no Mono, the yokai went after Ushio again. Kappa then tells Ushio that behind the mountain, there is a village that he can visit to protect himself. Meanwhile, at the scene of the bus accident, the police were already there. Saya and Omamori accidentally passed the scene. Omamori sensed that all the yokai in the area were moving. At Kamitachi's house, the yokai came to call Raishin and Kagari. They invite the two Kamitachi to join them in killing Ushio, but they rejected their invitation, and they both chose to protect Ushio. On the other hand, Tora and Hitotsuki were still talking. Hitotsuki remembers that he, Tora, and the other yokai once worked together to fight Hakumen no Mono. However, when Hakumen no Mono weakened, Tora did not join the pursuit because he met the Wanderer and was sealed using the Holy Spear. Hitotsuki also said that after Tora's departure, the yokai continued to attack Hakumen no Mono's hideout, but they could not penetrate it because there was a strong kekai that protected the place and was made by a woman from among humans. Tora asked what the relationship between that woman and Ushio was because she had lived thousands of years ago. Hitotsuki explained that the woman's name was Yuki, who was the first-generation Oyakume, the head of the Koh-Hame shrine. He again warned Tora not to interfere in his affairs because even though Tora said Ushio was his prey, he didn't seem to want to eat him. On the other hand, the two Kamitachi managed to defeat all the yokai who came to their house, and then they were looking for Ushio, who was in danger. Meanwhile, Ushio, who was being overwhelmed by being beaten by many yokai, accidentally saw an old man being surrounded by yokai. He immediately carried the old man and carried him away from there to the village behind the mountain. Tora, who had been warned by Hitotsuki, could only see Ushio from the top of the tree. Arriving at the village, Ushio and the old man stopped at a bakery to eat. The bakery owner told them about the news of the bus accident and said that all the passengers were safe. The old man asked Ushio why so many yokai were chasing him, and then Ushio replied that the incident happened after he pulled the holy spear from the body of a yokai named Tora. Even though Ushio is currently a yokai exterminator, he still feels guilty when he hurts them. He also gave the old man a piece of bread and a bottle of milk. When he was about to leave the bakery, Ushio asked the old man for permission to stay at his house. Suddenly the yokai arrived in front of the bakery and surrounded them both. Ushio decided to run to lure the yokai away from the village. When the yokai disturbs the villagers, finally, the fight ensues, but Ushio, who was outnumbered at that time, fell and prepared to die. Then came two Kamitachi who seemed to have been injured to help Ushio. The two of them desperately protect Ushio until Hitotsuki comes. Elsewhere, Omamori is seen entering a house. Meanwhile, Ushio and the two Kamitachi were currently cornered. When the two Kamitachi were ready to die to protect Ushio, Tora grabbed them and carried them away from the yokai. But Ushio was confused because suddenly he was in front of a house alone. Ushio went into the house to meet the owner until he arrived at a room and saw Omamori and an old man. Omamori said that the old man was the leader of all yokai and he wanted to talk to Ushio. The old man said that the yokai attacked Ushio because they had a grudge against his mother, because his mother has protected Hakumen no Mono in the form of a white dragon with 9 tails. Then the old man told the legend of Hakumen no Mono until the yokai was helped by the leader of Koh-Hame. Ushio asked if the woman was his mother, but the old man replied that the woman couldn't be his mother because it happened thousands of years ago. But the old man hinted that his mother is the 3rd generation of Oyakume's descendants who are currently guarding Hakumen no Mono's kekai. Her name is Hizaki Sumako. But the old man said he did not know why Hizaki wanted to protect Hakumen no Mono. The old man asked Ushio for help to ask this. Omamori then convinced the old man that Ushio was a human that the yokai could trust. Omamori said that she helped Ushio to return the favor and could not bear to see Saya cry when Ushio died at the hands of the yokai. The old man guaranteed that from now on, there would be no more yokai in the area who would pursue Ushio. Suddenly, Hitotsuki's voice came from outside the house, who objected to the old man's decision. Before the old man and Omamori meet Hitotsuki outside, the old man tells Ushio that he is the old man he helped last night. They then met Hitotsuki, who didn't want to let Ushio go. Hitotsuki invited Ushio to fight, but Tora said that he would face his old friend. The old man agreed that if Hitotsuki fought Tora and if Hitotsuki won, he could do whatever he wanted, but if he lost then he had to be willing to let Ushio go. The battle began. At the beginning of the fight, Tora seemed overwhelmed by Hitotsuki, but Tora hit Hitotsuki back with his fire burst, followed by a lightning strike until Hitotsuki's body was charred. But Hitotsuki didn't want to give up and kept attacking Tora until he was unconscious after receiving an attack from Tora. In the end, Tora became the winner. After the fight, Tora and Ushio left the house to continue their journey, but the old man said that their task would be even more difficult. Long story short, Tora and Ushio arrived in Hokkaido, and they had to head to a village called Ashikawa. But they strayed and met a woman named Shikemori Himawa. Suddenly yokai who was sent by Hakumen no Mono came to seize Ushio's holy spear. When Ushio was about to fight the yokai, Shikemori had already attacked the yokai using the power of 2 combs. Shikemori said that the yokai was called Hio, and then she slapped Ushio after seeing the holy spear inherited by him because she had trained hard to inherit the holy spear. Himawa is a member of the Kohame school and one of the candidates for the heir to the holy spear. While at the Kohame College, the members talked about the 4 candidates for the heir to the holy spear who disappeared. Hakumen said that it was only natural since they were disappointed that Ushio, who came from nowhere but was able to inherit the holy spear. The 4 of them must be chasing Ushio right now, but Hakumen didn't worry about that because the 4 of them came to know whether Ushio was worthy to inherit the spear or not. On the other hand, Shikemori said that Ushio was not worthy to inherit the spear because he did not do any training, and she asked Ushio to give the spear to her. If Ushio was aware to the signal from the spear, it was impossible for 2 pilots to die when they were attacked by Fusuma, and Juro didn't have to die either. Ushio, who heard that, then easily felt guilty and handed the spear to Shikemori. Then Shikemori attacked Ushio and left because she sensed the Hios would come again. The Hio fused into a giant shape and confronted Shikemori, but she couldn't use the spear against them. The Hios managed to defeat Shikemori, then the holy spear buzzed because Ushio came. Ushio immediately attacked the Hio, but they took Shikemori hostage. Ushio finally threw the spear at the Hio so that Shikemori was saved while he returned to human form again and was caught by the Hio. Tora came to help Ushio until he was free, then he took the holy spear again and said he would soon meet Hakumen no Mono. After she finished, Shikemori said that for the time being, she would lend the spear to Ushio while she would continue to practice using the spear, and then she left. The next day when Ushio and Tora were about to continue their journey, they met a man named Akiba Nagare who was riding a motorcycle. Ushio seemed to admire Akiba's motorbike. Akiba then offers Ushio to ride his motorbike, but Ushio refuses and leaves him. Tora, who felt that Akiba was watching them, decided to come back and visit him. Tora asked who Akiba really was, then he replied that he was one of the potential heirs of the holy spear. But Akiba was more interested in Tora than the holy spear, and the 2 of them fought. The sword that Akiba carries can block Tora's attack, then Tora attacks him using a burst of fire. But Akiba stabs Tora's left hand with a metal spike that can seal yokai's power. At that time, Akiba felt strange because he knew the history of Tora's power, but now Tora's strength is weakened, especially he has repeatedly helped Ushio. Akiba asked what the reason Tora did all that was, then he stuck 1 more nail in Tora's right hand. Akiba plunged 3 other nails into Tora's leg until he went berserk and cut off his hands and feet so he could escape. Tora immediately attacked Akiba and managed to defeat him. Before leaving, Tora answered why he had always helped Ushio because he always felt happy to be beside Ushio and never felt bored. On the other hand, the Hios reappeared and got into the bus that Ushio was going to ride because they wanted to harm him. When the bus starts running, the driver cannot control the bus. Meanwhile, Tora, who smelled Hio was nearby, was suddenly approached by Akiba, who said that he would help people in the bus. Akiba and Tora then worked together to get the passengers out of the bus. After successfully rescuing the passengers, Akiba looked for a way to stop the bus. He thought he would crash his motorbike into the bus, but Tora stopped him and said let the holy spear wielder will handle it. Ushio split the bus into 2 parts and stuck his spear at the bottom of the bus until the bus stopped instantly. After the incident ended, Ushio blamed himself and left. Tora and Akiba were chasing Ushio. Akiba said he was willing to take Ushio to his destination village. He confirmed Tora's words that being with Ushio didn't bore him. While on the trip, Ushio was still thinking about the incident earlier. Suddenly there are 4 motorbikes following them. Akiba stops and recognizes them. It turned out that they were candidates for the heir to the holy spear as well, but they all weren't chosen like Akiba and Shikemori. One of the women named June said that she was looking for her older brother named Mouritsuna Satoru, who was the main candidate for the heir to the holy spear. June said that Moritsuna's attitude had changed since hearing the news that someone had inherited the holy spear. While June was talking, Mouritsuna appeared carrying a yokai in the form of a leech. At that time, Mouritsuna immediately ordered the yokai to attack Ushio, while Akiba, who felt that his friend had changed, immediately attacked him. But Moritsuna's strength is greater than Akiba's. All of the bikers attacked Mouritsuna, but he could trounce them all. Then Tora came and destroyed the leech yokai. June, who tried to resuscitate Mouritsuna, was attacked by him. They argue that something is controlling Mouritsuna from within his body. When Mouritsuna felt pain, he left them. Tora said that it was the work of the Hio. They all decided to go with Ushio because before Mouritsuna left, he said he would come to Ushio again. Arriving at a tavern, Ushio talks to the mirror to ask Unknowingly for help finding the old man of the yokai leaders to ask how to get the heirs out who possessed Mourtsuna's body. The old man appeared and said that to help Mouritsuna, Ushio had to enter his body using the holy spear. But the consequence is that if Ushio can't control himself, the holy spear will eat his soul and turn him into a terrible yokai monster. Then Mouritsuna came again and immediately attacked Ushio. Jun immediately hugged Mouritsuna to wake him up, but instead, he wanted to kill Jun, but Ushio immediately prevented this. Mouritsuna, who could not control himself, chose to jump down the cliff. Luckily, Ushio could still save him by throwing the holy spear until he got stuck. Jun cries, seeing Mourtsuna's condition now. Finally, Ushio decides to enter Mourtsuna's body while Akiba tries to stop him, but Ushio is determined to help Mouritsuna. Suddenly Unknowingly appeared from the mirror and said that the old man had expected Ushio to keep doing it. So he sent a yokai named Izuna to help Ushio enter Mourtsuna's body. Izuna looks arrogant when he meets Ushio and boasts of his ability to enter the human body. When the two of them were about to enter Mourtsuna's body, suddenly Tora came and blocked them because it would be very dangerous, and the bet was that Ushio would turn into a yokai. But Ushio replied that his determination was made up, but Tora instead went with Ushio to enter Mourtsuna's body. When he reached in Mourtsuna's body, Ushio was awakened by Izuna. Izuna will guide them to Mourtsuna's brain by passing through several of his organs. Before they left, the heirs immediately attacked them, but they were all able to defeat the heirs and continued on their way. When they arrived at the heart organ, the three of them were bound by blood vessels by the heirs. Tora used the power of lightning to escape, and Mouritsuna was in pain. Ushio then moved the holy spear and managed to kill Ushio, who controlled Mourtsuna's heart. But after Ushio used the power of his spear, his left arm suddenly grew fur that moved, and Tora said that it meant that Ushio's transformation into yokai had already begun. Tora, who saw this, was undecided as to whether he should prey on Ushio before he completely turned into a yokai. It turned out that Ushio could still control his consciousness and then asked Tora and Izuna to go to Mourtsuna's brain. The three of them continued to run through Mourtsuna's spine, but hundreds of heirs attacked the three of them. Meanwhile, Mouritsuna wakes up and wants to attack his friends, but Jun hugs him again because Ushio says no matter what happens, don't let Mourtsuna's body go. Jun's hug turned out to be able to transfer her power to Ushio, so he could defeat hundreds of heirs. But Ushio's body looks worse. Izuna is worried about Ushio's body condition, but Ushio was able to convince them that he could complete this task. After they arrived at Mourtsuna's brain, a yokai named Shibakama had been waiting there. Shibakama is the leader of the heirs who controls Mourtsuna's body. Shibakama asked why Ushio dared to go against orders from Hakumen no Mono. Ushio replied that he had no grudge against Hakumen no Mono because he just wanted to meet his mother. Ushio asked what Hakumen no Mono would do if he destroyed the holy spear. Shibakama saw a picture of Hakumen no Mono which said that he would destroy all yokai and all humans. Ushio's energy was reduced just by looking at Hakumen no Mono's image. When Ushio weakened, Shibakama attacked him, but Izuna blocked him, so the attack pierced Izuna's body. Then Izuna said that Ushio should focus on saving Mouritsuna and not think about Hakumen no Mono. Hearing that, Ushio immediately got up and fought Shibakama. Izuna then asked Jun to transfer her powers to help Ushio fight Shibakama. Jun soaked in the river to gather her inner strength. While inside, Tora and Ushio were luring Shibakama to follow them toward Moritsuna's eyes, but they failed because Shibakama knew they would frame him, and he retreated. However, Izuna pushed Shibakama towards Moritsuna's eyes by risking his life. Ushio wanted to help Izuna, but Tora stopped him because it was very dangerous. Ushio still tried to attack Shibakama by stabbing him with the holy spear. Shibakama's body instantly shattered, and then Tora caught them both so as not to be hit by Jun's internal energy. Mouritsuna was finally rescued until he was conscious. Mouritsuna thanked Jun, but Jun said the ones who saved him were Ushio, Tora and Izuna, even though they were still inside his body now. Mouritsuna said that he envied Ushio for being able to inherit the holy spear. That's why the heirs could control him, but he did not expect that Ushio would risk his life for him. Mouritsuna was crying, knowing the truth, until finally, the three of them could get out of Moritsuna's body through his tears. Akiba is very happy to see Ushio survive, but the fearful thing happens because Ushio has turned into a monster completely. At the Kohame College Shrine, Oyakume and the four monks said they had lost track of Ushio and Akiba this time. Then comes the spirit of a beautiful woman who is the first generation Oyakume and informs that Ushio has turned into a full-fledged monster at this time. The way to awaken him is by giving the comb that was given to him by the first Oyakume and passed down to Ushio's mother. It turns out that the comb has now been taken and is in Ushio's pocket. The first generation Oyakume said they needed the help of women who had something to do with Ushio and she would meet them all. After the spirit left, the second generation Oyakume asked Shigure to help resuscitate Ushio. The first generation Oyakume immediately met Yu, Saya, Reiko, Mayuko and Asako. She told them all that Ushio was in danger right now and needed their help to comb Ushio's hair with the comb in Ushio's hand. Finally, Mayuko and Asako find out the truth about Ushio and Tora. The women immediately went to Ishikawa using the helicopter Shigure had prepared. Yu was seen already in Ishikawa. The scene returns to Ushio running away from his friends. They all continued to chase Ushio on a motorbike. Then on the way, they met Shikemori who said she knew where Ushio was going. Ushio was heading to a cave. On Ushio's run, he slaughters all the yokai he encounters. His consciousness is bound to his body, so his consciousness is out of control. On the other hand, Hakumen no Mono releases a lot of Hio to attack Ushio, and things just get worse. Suddenly Ushio saw the shadow of a man who was forging a spear. The man's hands and eyes bled while his mouth spewed fire. He made the spear because he hated Hakumen no Mono so much. Ushio didn't even recognize the man because there were only clues that the incident happened 2,000 years ago. On the other hand, knowing Ushio had arrived at Kamuikotan, Shigure, who led the mission, then assigned them to form a kekai to restrain the Hio around the mountain. Meanwhile, Shikemori and Jun were asked to help the women. Tora and Izuna were assigned to take the comb from Ushio's hands and they were able to find Ushio quickly and managed to take the comb from his back pocket, while Shigure and the others made kekai around the mountain. Izuna took the comb away while being chased by Ushio. Reiko immediately took the comb and combed Ushio's hair until it was pulled out, but still not enough to wake him. Ushio continued to run towards the women until he almost hit Saya but was blocked by Asako, so she bounced and was injured. Tora, who tried to stop Ushio, was instead stabbed by him with a holy spear. Shikemori tried to stop Ushio by using her kekai. Saya also turned to do the next combing because normal humans couldn't penetrate Shikemori's kekai. Although Saya initially found it difficult, in the end, she pulled out Ushio's hair using the comb. Mayuko takes the next turn, but an angry Ushio breaks through Shikemori's kekai. Then Ushio tried to destroy the comb that was in Mayuko's hand. Tora, who was already injured, was still trying to help Mayuko and Saya. While the weakened Shikemori can't make kekai anymore, even now she is in danger because Ushio keeps running toward her. Then Jun comes to help Shikemori to make kekai. When the bridge is about to collapse, Yu replaces Mayuko for the next turn because she is a runner who can catch up to Ushio quickly. Yu ran fast and pulled out Ushio's hair with the comb. Then Ushio's consciousness seemed to have gradually returned, but he still ran because he still couldn't control himself. After Ushio left, the first generation Oyakume came and showed the whereabouts of Ushio, who was heading to a cave. Tora asked why Ushio was so eager to go to that cave. The first generation Oyakume replied that a piece of Hakumen no Mono's body was being imprisoned in the cave. Arriving in front of the cave, Mayuko took her turn, but she was attacked by Ushio using the holy spear. Luckily, the comb that Mayuko brought could withstand the spear's attack. Mayuko was bounced into the abyss, but Tora managed to save her. On the other side, Shigure and the others looked exhausted and unable to withstand the attacks of the Hios anymore. The Hio even managed to penetrate their kekai and headed to Ushio's place. In front of the cave, Ushio attacked Tora, but Tora resisted the attack and managed to catch Ushio, so Mayuko combed his hair. Then Mayuko threw the comb at Asako, but the Hios came to attack Ushio. Yu came and made kekai using his spell paper to hold the Hios for 3 minutes, so Asako had to immediately resuscitate Ushio. In Ushio's consciousness, the man who forged the spear said that he would never be able to become a human again. Then came the first Oyakume named Juime and called the man his big brother. Juime asks her older brother to stop taking other people's souls to hate Hakumen no Mono. The incident made Ushio stop and start to wake up, then Asako approached him. Asako manages to brush Ushio's hair, but Ushio berserk because of his hatred for Hakumen no Mono. Asako pushed Ushio so that they both fell down the cliff. At that time, Asako reminisced about her childhood with Ushio. When they were little, they never got along, but Ushio always helped her when she was in trouble. Then Asako confessed her feelings to Ushio until Ushio regained consciousness and returned to his human form. On the other hand, the kekai that Hyu made has disappeared, so the Hios can escape and prepare to attack everyone. Suddenly, Ushio returns to them in human form and eradicates the Hio. Ushio asks Tora for help to fight with him. Due to the large number of Hios, they combine Tora's lightning power with the power of his spear to defeat them. Finally, the two of them could annihilate all of Hio at once. After the Hios were wiped out, Ushio was exhausted and lay limp. He looked at all the women who came to help him. Ushio told them that everything he experienced felt dim and like a dream. Then Ushio remembered that there were pieces of Hakumen no Mono's body in the cave, so he wanted to enter the cave accompanied by Tora. Izuna panicked and asked the women to stop Ushio, but they all agreed to let him go because they believed he could return safely. Asako and the other women planned to leave the place and entrust Ushio to Shigure and the others. This is the end of Ushio and Tora Part 2.